I found out about the cello on a Tuesday afternoon, while standing in the checkout line holding milk and a box of cereal my daughter would not eat. My father's voice on the phone was casual. We sold it. It was just sitting there. For a moment I thought he meant furniture. A cabinet. Something replaceable. I remember staring at the conveyor belt as if it might explain him. The cello. He clarified. Collector offered $107,000. It would have been irresponsible not to take it. Irresponsible. I heard the word and felt something inside me go strangely quiet. He continued, as if narrating a sensible business decision. My sister's backyard had been under construction for weeks. The kids needed something positive, he said. A pool would bring the family together. It would be shared. It was practical. I asked one question. Did you pause? Short. Dismissive. It was in our storage room. You left it here. Left it here. I had left it in their climate-controlled basement during renovations. I had labeled the case. I had locked it. I had trusted them. When I got home, my daughter was at the kitchen table, bow moving slowly across a borrowed school instrument. The sound was thin. She stopped when she saw my face. Is it true? She asked quietly. I didn't know how she already knew. News travels quickly in families when there's money involved. Yes, I said. She nodded once. Then, after a moment, does Grandma know? That question landed heavier than the sale. My grandmother did not rush over. She arrived 2 days later. Wearing the same soft gray coat she had worn the afternoon she first handed the cello to my daughter. I remember that day clearly, how deliberate she had been. How she made my daughter promise to respect it. It's older than you think. She had said then, not elaborating. Now she sat in my parents' living room while they explained the situation in bright, defensive tones. They mentioned the amount several times. $107,000, as if repeating it transformed the act into wisdom. My mother emphasized how happy my sister's children were about the pool. My father added, we assumed you'd understand. Grandma folded her hands in her lap. She listened without interruption. Her expression did not harden. It did not soften either. When they finished, she smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind someone gives when they finally see the shape of something clearly. The cello was never yours to sell, she said. The room shifted, almost imperceptibly. My father frowned. It was a gift, yes, she said. A custodial lily, as if clarifying a recipe. The instrument is part of a registered private collection. It has been under a cultural loan agreement for 15 years. I was its steward. When I transferred it to your granddaughter, the stewardship transferred with it. Silence thickened. My mother blinked. What does that mean? It means, Grandma said gently, that selling it without authorization constitutes unlawful transfer of protected property. My father's face drained in a way I had never seen before. It fetched that price because it was catalogued. She continued. Authenticated. Insured. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse, she simply stated facts. The foundation has already been notified, she added. The notice arrived 3 days later. Formal letterhead. Legal language. A demand for immediate reversal of sale or restitution of full value plus penalties. The buyer, a private collector, had purchased it believing the transfer was legitimate. The documentation trail had raised flags within 48 hours. Construction on the pool stopped mid-excavation. A half-dug crater sat behind my sister's house like an unfinished sentence. Contractors requested payment. The buyer demanded reimbursement. Attorneys began calling. My parents did not yell at each other. That almost made it worse. They moved around their house quietly, as if sound itself had become expensive. My father called me once. This didn't need to escalate. I let the silence answer him. It was just an instrument. He added weakly. No. I said. My daughter didn't cry about the cello. She practiced on the school instrument and asked practical questions about auditions. Grandma arranged for a temporary replacement through a colleague. Not as valuable, but warm in tone. She sat beside my daughter during the first practice session, and adjusted her waist the way she always had. You are not defined by what is taken from you, she told her. She never mentioned the lawsuit, she never mentioned the pool. Eventually, My parents repaid the buyer to avoid further legal exposure. It required refinancing. It required explanations to extended relatives who had already heard a celebratory version of the sale. The pool was filled in with dirt. Not dramatically. Just efficiently. When my mother visited weeks later, she stood in my kitchen as if unsure where to place her hands. "We thought," she began. I didn't rescue the sentence. She tried again. "We thought it would benefit everyone." Everyone, I repeated softly, the word no longer felt neutral. There was an apology after that. Not theatrical. Not complete. Something shaped like one. I accepted it the way you accept weather. Without pretending it changes the season. Grandma came by one evening as my daughter finished practicing. She stayed in the doorway, listening. The notes were stronger now. Afterward, my daughter asked her, "Will I ever get my cello back?" Grandma considered this carefully. "Perhaps," she said. "But what matters is that you learned something earlier than most." "What?" my daughter asked. "That value and ownership are not the same thing." Later, as I walked her to her car, I thanked her. "For what?" she asked. "For not exploding." She smiled again, this time softer. "Anger rarely teaches the right lesson," she said. "Documentation does." I don't feel victorious. Nothing about it feels like winning. The trust that existed before the sale is not restored, simply because the paperwork resolved in our favor. But something did change. My parents no longer assume access equals authority. They no longer speak for me in decisions that are not theirs. The shift is subtle, undeniable. And in the quiet that followed all of it, I realized something else. Forgiveness is not the erasure of consequence. It is the refusal to let consequence turn you into something smaller. My daughter continues to practice. The backyard crater is gone. And when Grandma smiles now, no one mistakes it for softness.